Find the row difference, column difference with the remaining values in particular column and row that is eliminated or cancelled will not be considered. The least value is 19 and 40. First least value is 19, next is 40. So 40 minus 19, this is equal to 21. Demand and supply are equal, so I can allocate 2 here. So then this 2 becomes 0. You can substitute 2 also, this also becomes 0. Hello dear students, welcome to this session of Operation Research class or class. I am Mr. Niranjan, faculty, Department of Computer Science, Vidhyaashram First Grade College, the Temple of Excellence. Now today in this session I am going to discuss regarding very important concept, that is solving a transportation problem using Vogels approximation method, VAM, Vogels approximation method. This is also a very important method. You may expect one question from this for 8 marks. Now let us discuss step by step procedure how we are going to solve a Vogels approximation method in a transportation problem. Now Vogels approximation method, this is called as a VAM, Vogels approximation method. Now what is the step by step procedure to solve? Now very simple concept, just find out the difference, row difference and column difference. First find out the difference, first row difference. How to find the row difference? First find out the least value and next second least value. The difference between the first and second least value will give the difference, row difference of that particular row. So find out the row difference and similarly find out the column difference. The column difference is nothing but just find out the difference between two least values. So first least value and second least value difference will give the column least value, and so those least values are called as the penalties. After finding the penalty, just identify the maximum penalty either in row or column, and by identifying the maximum penalty, just we can find the minimum value in supply and the demand, and the procedure is very simple as that of the previous problems. Now let me explain in detail. First find out the row difference value. The row difference value is nothing but in supply, the row difference value in supply, that is the least value minus next least value, the difference between the two least values. So find out the row difference. First find out the row difference. The row difference is nothing but the difference between the first two least values. Next similarly find out the column difference. Column difference is nothing but the difference between the two least values in that particular column. Then first find out the row difference and the column difference. The row difference values are called as penalty, and similarly the penalties, column different penalties are together are called as the penalties. So the difference, the row difference and column difference values are called as the penalties. Now check the highest value in the penalties. Check the highest value in the penalties and mark row or column in that particular row or column. Just identify the highest value, mark the highest value in that particular row or column, that particular row and column. So mark the highest value, highest penalty in row or column in that particular row or column. Select the least value, least cost, select the least value cost and allocate from supply and demand which is least value, and make the changes in supply and demand. If the demand is equal to 0, the column is cancelled. If supply is equal to 0, the row is cancelled. Just identify the maximum penalty either in that particular row or column and find out the least value in supply and demand and mark, and then if the supply and demand, if the demand is equal to 0, then cancel that particular column. If the supply is equal to 0, we can cancel that particular row. So this process is repeated. So find the row difference and column difference with the remaining values in that particular row and column and cancel the row, and eliminated or cancelled which will not be considered. So just here find the row difference, column difference with the remaining values in particular column and row that is eliminated or cancelled will not be considered. So the process is repeated until we get the final solution. This is the step-by-step procedure how we are going to solve. Let me explain this in a problem. Let me take one simple problem. Now, find the initial basic feasible solution by Vogels approximation method, that is VAM, Vogels approximation method. Now, as usual, find out whether this is a balanced transportation or not. So, what is the balanced transportation? If the supply is equal to demand, then it is called a balanced transportation. So, here this is the problem given A, B, C, D and the supply and the demand, supply as well as the demand. Here, what is the supply? 300, 400 and 500 and the demand is 250, 350, 400 and 200 for A, B, C, D. Now, here just add this. 500 plus 400 is 900 plus 300 is 1200. Here also 250 plus 350 is 600 plus 400, 1400 plus 200 is 1200. So, 1200 is equal to 1200. Therefore, this is a balanced transportation problem. So, your supply is equal to demand. Therefore, this is a balanced transportation problem. Now, just go to the next step. Now, here this is a given problem, balanced transportation, 1200 is equal to 1200. Now, let us identify the row difference. How to find the row difference? Now, identify the least value in this row. In the first row, the first least value is 2 and the next least value is equal to 3. Okay, the difference between 3 minus 3 and 1, 3 minus 1 is equal to 2. So, the first row difference is 2. 2 is the first row difference. Okay, now come to the next row. In the next row, what is the least value? 2. The next least value is 5. 5 minus 2. 5 minus 2 is equal to 3. So, we can write 3 here. And similarly, in the third row, the least value is 2 and the next least value is 3. 3 minus 2 is equal to 1. So, these are the row differences. So, in the first row, the difference is 2. In the second row, the difference is 3. And in the third row, the difference is 1. Similarly, come to the column. In the first column, find out the difference. What is the first least element is 2 and the next least element is 3. 3 minus 2 is equal to 1. Here in the first column, it is 1. Whereas in the second column, the least element is 1, next least element is 3. 3 minus 1 is equal to 2. Similarly, in the third column, what is the least element? 3. And the next least element is 5. 5 minus 3 is equal to 2. And similarly, in the last column, what is the least element? 2. And the next least element is 4. 4 minus 2 is equal to 2. So, these are called the penalties. Okay. Now, identify the maximum penalty here. So, here 2, 2, 2. Here it is 3. So, the maximum penalty is 3. Here 3 is the maximum penalty corresponding to the second row. Okay. So, now identify corresponding to this second row, identify the supply and the demand. So, what is the supply here? So, here to identify the minimum value in that particular row. So, here in this particular row, this is the minimum value, 2 is the minimum value. For this, the supply demand is 250 and the supply is 400, which is minimum, 250 is minimum. So, I can allocate 250 here. So, this 250, you can subtract 250, this becomes 0. And if you subtract 250 from this, if 250 is taken, minus 250 will give 150. Okay, see here, just the maximum penalty is 3 corresponding to row 2 in the second row. Here in the second row, identify the least value. The least value is 2. 2 is the least value. And for this least value, identify the demand and supply. Demand is 250 and supply is 600, which is least. 250 is least. So, therefore, allocate 250 here. So, 250 minus 250 is 0. 400 minus 250 is 150. Once if this becomes 0 means you can cancel the entire column. This column is cancelled. And next, the same procedure repeated for the next step. So, for the remaining elements, for the remaining cells, repeat the same procedure. Now, similarly, find out the least value here. What is the least value? 1. Next least value is 4. 4 minus 1 is equal to 3. The row difference is 3. And again, so for the second row, here the least value is 5. Next least value is 6. 6 minus 5 is equal to 1. And again for the third row, the least value is 2. And the next least value is 3. 3 minus 2 is equal to 1. And whereas come to this is cancelled. We can delete this. Now come to the next column. Second column, the least value is 1, next least value is 3. 3 minus 1 is equal to 2. Here the least value is 3. Next is 5. 5 minus 3 is equal to 2. Again here the least value is 2. And next least value is 4. 4 minus 2 is equal to 2. Now just identify the maximum penalty. So here 2 is the maximum. Here in the row difference 3 is the maximum. So therefore I can mark this as the maximum. So the maximum value is 3 here. Now just corresponding, this is corresponding to row 1, right? This is corresponding to the row 1. So corresponding to the row 1, identify the least value. What is the least value in row 1? 1 is the least value. So corresponding to this least value, find out the demand and the supply. Demand is 350 and the supply is 300. Which is least? 300 is least. So we can allocate 300 here. So this is 300. The difference is 50. 300 minus 300. This is equal to 0. Once this is 0 means we can cancel all the elements of row 1. Okay. That's regarding the next. Now similarly proceed with the same steps. Now identify the next, find out the row difference and column difference for the remaining elements. So what are the values here? Here, so the least value is 5, next least value is 6. 6 minus 5 is equal to 1. That is first row is deleted. In the second row, the least value is 5 and the 6, the difference is 1. Similarly, in the third row, the least value is 2, next is 3, the difference is 1. Now come to this column. So in the column, in the first column, the least value is 3 and the next least value is 6. 6 minus 3 is equal to 3. Again here, the first least value is 3 and the second least is 5. 5 minus 3 is equal to 2. Here the least value is 9 minus 2 is 7. Now identify the maximum value, maximum penalty. So the maximum penalty is 7 in the column difference. This is 7. So corresponding to this, so this comes in D. Okay, corresponding to this column, identify the least value. So in this 2 is the least value. Here this is the least value. And for this 2, just find out the least supply and the demand. So the demand is 200, supply is 500, which is least? 200 is least. So I can allocate 200 here. This minus 200, this becomes 0. Here minus 200, this is equal to 300. Okay. Once this is 0 means we can cancel all the elements. Right. This gets cancelled. Okay. Now come to the next. So these elements are cancelled. Now next, come to the next. What are the elements left? 6, 5, 3, 3. Only these 6, 5, 3, 3. Now find out the least value. So the least value is 5, next value is 6. The difference between these two is 6 minus 5 is 1. Again identify the least value, 3 and 3, the difference is 0. Now again come to the column. So here this is gone. The least value is 3 and 6. 6 minus 3 is 3. Here least value is 3 and 5. The difference is 2. Here this is deleted. We can remove this. Okay. Now identify the maximum penalty. Maximum penalty is 3. This is the maximum penalty corresponding to this. Okay. Corresponding to B. Now what is the least value here? 3 is the least value in this particular column. Now what is the maximum value and minimum value? So the demand is 50 and the supply is equal to 300. This is the least value. I can allocate 50 here. 50 minus 50, this becomes 0. Once this becomes 0, you can cancel these elements. Now corresponding to this, you can remove minus 50 from this. What is left over is 250. Okay. Now next, what are the elements left here? 5 and 3. So the least value. So here the least value is 5 itself. And for this particular 5, identify the supply and the demand. What is the demand? Demand is 300 and the supply is 150, which is minimum. 150 is minimum. We can allocate 150 here. 150 minus 150, this becomes 0. So then here you are going to subtract 150, then we are going to get 250. And what is the last element left? See, it is 3. So this gets, once this becomes 0 means we can cancel this also. And the last element remaining is 3. For this the supply is 250 and demand is also 250. So here we can substitute 250 here. So 250 minus 250, this is equal to 0. Again 250 minus 250, this is also equal to 0. So, supply and demand is equal to 0. Finally, the supply and demand are 0 and 0. This is how we are going to allocate. Okay. Now, the problem is balanced. Now, identify the solution region. Let me share the solution regions. Here we are going to get the solution. This is 1 point. 300 into 1 is the first point. And second, 150 into 5 is the second point. Then this 50 into 3. And similarly 250 into 3. And again this 200 into 2. And then where we have, that's all. Only 300 into 1, 150 into 5, 50 into 3, 250 into 3 and 200 into. Now simplify this. This will give us the final answer. That's it. Therefore, the cost of transportation is equal to, let me simplify this, 300 into 1 plus 150 into 3, 150 into 5 plus 50 into 3 plus 250 into 3 plus 200 into 200 into. So, these are the values. Let me simplify. This is 300, 150 into 5, 750, 50 into 3, 150, plus 250 into 3, 250 into 3, 750, plus 200 into 2 is 400. Okay, simplify this. What is the answer we are going to get here? 750 plus 750, 1500, plus 400, 1900. 1900 plus 300 is 2200, plus 150, 2200 plus 150 is 2350. This is the required answer. Now let me check once again. So the allocation, we have one more here, 250 into 2. So let us shade this. I can shade this also. So these are all the shaded regions. So just multiply it. Now you can find out the total cost of the transportation is 250 into 2 plus 300 into 1 plus 50 into 3 plus 150 into 5 plus 250 into 3 plus 200 into 2. So therefore the total cost of the transportation is, therefore the total cost of transportation, therefore the total cost of the transportation is equal to just 250 into 2, 250 into 2 plus 300 into 1 plus 50 into 3, then 150 into 3, 250 into 150 into 5, 150 into 5 plus 250 into 3, 250 into 3 plus 200 into 2. So these are the values. Now simplify this. So 250 into 2 is 500, 300 into 1 is 300, 50 into 3 is 150 plus 150 into 5. 150 into 5 is 750 plus 250 into 3 is also 750 plus 200 into 2 is 400. Simplify this. 500 plus 300 is 800 plus 750 plus 750 is 1500 plus 150 plus 400 is 550. So add this. So if you add 800 plus 550, 800 plus 550 is nothing but 1000. Let me add first 1500. So 800 plus 1500 plus 550. Now this 800 plus 550 is nothing but 1350 plus 1500. This is 800 plus 550 is 1350 plus 1500. So 1350 plus 1500. So this is nothing, 1 plus 1 is 2, 5 plus 3 is 8, 2850 rupees. So therefore the total cost of the transportation is 2850 rupees. That's it. So therefore the total cost of transportation is rupees 2850. That's it, 2850. So that's regarding this problem. Hope you followed this. Now let's take one more problem. Let us take a similar type problem. Come to this. Find the initial feasible solution, basic feasible solution by Vogels method. That is Vogels approximation method. Same procedure. Now what is the problem given here? So D1, D2, D3, D4 and this demand, the demand and the supply. Supply is 7, 9 and 18 and the demand is 5, 8 and 7 and 14. Now verify whether this is a balanced transportation or not. Check whether it is a balanced or not. So what is the supply? The total supply. The total supply is 7 plus 9 plus 18. So this is 18 plus 16. So that's equal to 34. This is 34. Similarly, here this is 14 plus 7. 14 plus 7 is equal to 21. Again 8 plus 5. 8 plus 5 is equal to 12. 8 plus 5 is equal to 13. So this is also equal to 34. So that is 34 is equal to 34 means it is a balanced transportation problem. So 18 plus 9 plus 7 is 34. 14 plus 7 plus 8 plus 5 is also equal to 34. So 34 is equal to 34. Therefore, this is a balanced transportation problem. So here this is 34 is equal to 34. Follow the procedure. Now let us find out the row difference. In the first row, just identify the least value. The least value is 10. Next least value is equal to 19. So the difference between 19 and 10 is 9. 9 is the first least difference. Next, come to the next row. In the second row, the least value is equal to 30. Next least value is 40. 40 minus 30 is equal to 10. And come to the row 3. In the third row, the least value is 8 and the next least value is 20. 20 minus 8 is 12. Now find out the column difference. In the first column, the least value is 19 and 40. First least value is 19, next is 40. So 40 minus 19, this is equal to 21. Here this is 21. Now the least value is 8 and the next least value is 30. 30 minus 8. 30 minus 8 is 22. This is 22. Here the least value is 40 and the next is 50. 50 minus 40, it is 10. The least value is 10, next is 20. 20 minus 10 is 10. Now here, just identify the maximum difference value, that is the maximum penalty. So these are called the penalties. The maximum penalty is 22. This is the maximum penalty corresponding to D2. Okay. Now in this D2 column, just identify the supply and the demand. Find out which is the least, whether the supply is least or the demand is least. So for this, find out the minimum value first. In this particular column, find out the minimum value. Minimum value is 8. For this minimum value 8, find out the supply and the demand. Demand is equal to 8 and supply is equal to 18. So here 8 is the minimum value. So I can allocate 8 here. 8 minus 8, this becomes 0. Here you can subtract 8, that's equal to 10. Once this becomes 0 means the entire row gets cancelled. This is cancelled. Okay. Now similarly come to the remaining elements. In the remaining elements, just identify the least value. Now let us come to the row difference. 10, 50 difference. 10, 50 and 19. So 19 minus 10 is 9. So this is 9. Again, the next list is 40 and 60. 60 and 40 difference is 20. Again, the difference between these two, 40 and 20 is again 20. Now come to the column difference. In the first column, the maximum is 19. Next is 40. 40 minus 19 is 21. As usual, this is 21. This is deleted. We can drop this. And here 40 and 50, the difference is 10. Here also 20 and 10, the difference is 10. So what is the maximum value? Here the maximum value is 21, which corresponds to D1. So maximum penalty is 21. So therefore here this D1 corresponding to this penalty 21 corresponding to D1. So in this particular column, identify the least value. What is the least value? 19 is the least value. Corresponding to this 19, find out the demand and supply. The demand is 5, and the supply is 7, which is least, the demand is least, so we can allocate 5 here. This 5 minus 5 becomes 0, and here this is 7 minus 5 is equal to 2. Once this becomes 0 means we can cancel all these elements. Okay. Next, now what are the remaining? Only these two cells are remaining. In these two cells, identify the row difference and column difference. The difference between 50 and 10 is 40. So 40. Again, the difference between 60 and 40 is 20. Again, the difference between 70 and 20, it is 50. Okay. Now let us come to this. This is cancelled. And what is left over is 50, 40 and 70. The least value is 40, then least is 50. 50 minus 40 is 10. Similarly, the least value is 10, next least is 20. 20 minus 10 is 10. Now identify the maximum penalty. The maximum penalty is 50. So this corresponds to row 3. That is row 3. So this is in row 3. Identify the least value. Least value is 20. So identify the supply and the demand. Demand is 14. Supply is 10. Supply is 10 and demand is 4. Which is least? This is least. So therefore we can allocate 10 here. 10 minus 10, this is 0. You can substitute 10 here. The remaining is 4. Once this becomes 0 means we can cancel this row. Now, what is remaining is only these elements are left. 40, 60, 7 and 40. Let us come to the next. So here the difference is 40. As usual, the difference is 40. Here the difference is 20. Okay. So this is cancelled. And here, what is the difference? The difference between these two, 40 and 50 is 10. Again, the difference between 60 and 10 is 50. Now, what is the maximum value? The 50 is the maximum value corresponding to D4. Now, so in D4, which is here, just identify the least value. What is the least value? 10. Corresponding to 10, what is the demand and supply? Demand is 10. The maximum penalty is 50 corresponding to D4. So in D4, just identify the least value. What is the least value here? We have 10 is the least value. So corresponding to 10, just identify the supply and the demand. What is the supply? Supply is equal to 2 and the demand is equal to 14, which is the 4, which is the least value between 2 and 4, it is 2. So we can substitute 2 here. 2 minus 2, this is 0. You can subtract 2 here, this is 2. So this gets cancelled. And what is left over is only these two elements, 40, 60 are only the elements which are left. Okay. Then, so the difference between 40 and 60 is 20. So if this is the least, in this just allocate the least value. The least value is equal to, this is 20 here. So the least value in this is 40. So find out the supply and the demand. Demand is 7 and the supply is 9. Which is least? 7 is least. You can subtract 7 here. This becomes 0. When this becomes 0 means you can cancel. This is 7. 9 minus 7, that is equal to 2. So finally, what is left over here? So the last element is 6. What is the supply? Supply is equal to 2 and the demand is also equal to 2. So demand and supply are equal. So I can allocate 2 here. So then this 2 becomes 0. You can substitute 2 also. This also becomes 0. So once this becomes 0 means we can cancel this and this. So that means everything gets cancelled. Okay. So the demand and the supply are is equal to 0. Now identify the least cost, the cost of the transportation. Now let me mark the region. Here we are going to get one value, 5 into 19. Okay, this is one value plus next it is 2 into 10, then 2 into 60 and 7 into 40, then 8 into this 8, then 10 into 20, anything else? That's all. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 values we are going to get. Now therefore the total cost of the transportation, is equal to, now first find 5 into 19 plus 2 into 10, first row, second row 7 into 40 plus 2 into 60 plus 8 into 8 plus 10 into 2. 8 into 8 plus 10 into 20. Now let us see. Now simplify this. So 19 into 5, 19 5s are 95, 2 into 10 is 20, 7 into 4, 7 4s are 28, 280 plus 6 2s are 12, 120, 8 8s are 64 plus 10 into 20 is 200. Simplify this, that's it. So this is 95, 280 plus 20 is 300 plus this is 64 as it is plus 120 plus 200 is 320. Now add this. So 95 plus 64 plus 620. This is equal to, so 95 plus 64, 159 plus 620, 779. Exact answer. 779. So therefore, the cost of transportation is rupees 779 rupees. Exactly, you will get the answer. That's it. Okay, straight away you can answer and put this is equal to 779. That's it. Okay, that's all regarding this problem. Hope you followed this. Okay, so this is how we are going to solve a transportation problem using VM, Vogels approximation method. Very simple concept here. Just find out whether it is a balanced transportation. If it is a balanced transportation, find out the row difference and column difference. That is called the penalties. Identify the maximum penalties, and for that particular row or column, just find out the supply and the demand. Select the minimum value. If the supply is minimum or the demand is minimum, and allocate and just go on proceeding. That's it. That is how we are going to solve a transportation problem using Vogels approximation method. Hope you followed this. That's all regarding this session. Let us meet with a different concept. In the next section, I am going to discuss regarding all the three methods, that is northwest corner method, least cost method and Vogels approximation method if it is not a balance, that is unbalanced transportation problem. So that's all regarding today's session. Let us meet in the next session. Thank you very much.